So what is the one major area that you really want to close the gap in? And I want you to think about this. I want you to write it on the chat for me. If, let's say, we were to really work together over this next 6 to 12 months, what would be the one area, probably more than anything, if you could close the gap in that particular area, it'd probably change your life. It might change your financial freedom. It might change your relationship. It might even save your relationship if you could really make a transformation in that area. It might even save your life. If you're unhealthy and not so well at the moment, if you could really make a change in that area, you would go from burnt out, overwhelmed, anxiety, stress, and chaos to a perfectly happy, healthy, well, whole human being again. So we're going to do a little bit of work on this now and get you really thinking about what that shift could look like for you. So I want you to write out at the top of your journal that one main area. Let's assume that we're already working together and that this is the one major area. Now, you will naturally, when you get involved in this process, you're going to improve all sorts of different areas of your life. That is just without question. You will spin yourself on a dime and look back and need a telescope to look back. But the way we create great results is by focusing. So if you try to do too much at once, you probably won't change anything. You will actually shut down your whole kind of operating system. You know, it'll kind of be like, imagine when you've got a computer open and if you've got too many tabs or programs running at once, that the computer gets a bit slow and it sort of wants to crash or shut down. Your mind and body can be a little bit like that when you try to change too many things at once. So we do want to focus, and this is one of the areas that you can start to focus in, is deciding what is the major area that you want to close the gap in now, right now, that you are willing to make a decision right now to say, I'm going to close the gap, I'm going to close that gap. And I want you to write that area just at the top of your page for me. And then I want you to make a decision. And I want you to understand why it's so important for you to make a decision. Now, in Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, he dedicated an entire chapter to decision because it is such a significant piece of everything, of creating any sort of change, any sort of shift. If you want to close the gap, before we get into the how, before we get into the what, before we get into the why, we actually just have to make a decision that that's the way it's going to be. And that's what you want to do. When you make a decision, you are literally flicking a switch mentally. You are literally going from night to day. You're literally drawing a line in the sand and cutting yourself off from any other decision, from any other way forward. You're saying, this I shall do. This is what I really want. Now, the only prerequisite for making a decision is, do you want it? So I want you to think about that one area that you just wrote down. And I want you to think about the shift that you would like to experience in that area. Are you imagining it right now? Do you have it in your imagination? I want you to see it there. And the only question I want you to ask yourself right now is, do I really want it? Would I love for this shift to happen in my life right now? And write on your notepad, yes or no. And there's your committed decision. That's it. You don't need to know the how. You don't need to know whether you'll figure out how to make the time for it. You don't need to know whether you can afford it, whether you will ever get the money, whether the opportunities will come. None of that is relevant or worth putting any energy into until you've actually made a decision. Because actually, on the other side of a decision, you're going to attract to you the thought energy, the power that you can create that result from. This is so significant for you to understand. It is the one part of the success puzzle that is so overlooked and undervalued. People don't really understand what a decision is. Most people make decisions and it's a wish. They hope that maybe they'll accomplish the goal, something will change. But a committed decision is to cut yourself off from any other option. Now, Napoleon Hill dedicated an entire chapter to this in Think and Grow Rich, and he said that the winners in life have formed the habit of making decisions quickly and changing them slowly if and when they change them at all. The losers, the failures, the people who fail to accomplish anything of significance, they go backwards and forwards, and that is a decision in itself. It is a decision to procrastinate, And procrastination is the death of men. Pretty big words, but absolutely spot on. In fact, the second you make a decision, you bring your mind and body into alignment. Have you ever sat with a decision where you've gone backwards and forwards, should I, shouldn't I, can I, can't I? And have you ever noticed how draining that is on your energy? Just write me a yes in the chat. If you've ever been in that situation where you were wondering about whether I should or shouldn't. And did you notice at that time, or maybe you didn't notice it when you were in the thick of it, but you noticed once you made a decision, the relief that came over you mentally and physically. It was like a weight was lifted off your shoulders now that you had made that decision. And that's what happens. You will experience such a greater sense of well-being when you make a decision. And it is necessary for you to make a decision right now, tonight, right now, around closing that gap. You don't wait until tomorrow or next week or next month. You make that committed decision right now. Now, most people haven't been taught how to make decisions, so they like to procrastinate. But if you really want to win, if you really want to close the gap and get super serious right now, tonight, about closing the gap on that one area that would make a huge change in your life, that would really make 2020 the best year of your life, then you have to make a committed decision right now around that.